Let's get physical. It is Jordan here with this month's update on all the PlayStation 5 and Xbox physical releases coming in August. As always, this video series is researched, written and edited by my man Tim, so thank you to him. I'm just here to lend my voice. Let's see what we've got this month. Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. I respect that they're not translating that name. Like, that's pretty good of them. Normally they just make up some nonsense, but no, they're going full Japanese with this one, so much so I can't even be bothered to pronounce it. This is releasing on the 1st of August for Xbox, PS5 and Switch worldwide, although there is a slight few days delay for the Western release. Here there are more story arcs, more playable characters and more flashy ultimates. CyberConnect 2's anime brawler returns with a follow-up covering the Swordsmith Village and Hashira Training Arts. Mechanically it looks like an expanded version of the original, which is an accessible 3D arena battle fighter with a heavy cinematic flair and just enough depth to keep fans busy. It is not a revolution, but it's a polished fan service thing in motion. Much like Demon Slayer franchise itself, it's the kind of sequel that knows exactly who it's for, and this delivers accordingly. And my executive producer Robotech has chosen this as his pick of the month. Yasha Legends of the Demon Blade is releasing on the 1st of August for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe, already released in Japan and Asia. An isometric 2D action roguelike steeped in Japanese folklore and ink-brush aesthetic. Yasha wears its Muramasa the Demon Blade influence very proudly, from the dazzling swordplay to the hauntingly yokai-infested backdrops. Already out in Japan and Asia, where it picked up a decent following, this Western release finally gives everyone a crack at the tight hack-and-slash combat, branching character builds, and cycle of death, rebirth, and gear upgrades. Lost Records Bloom and Rage is releasing on the 7th of August for PS5 in North America and Europe. From the studio behind Life is Strange comes another narrative-heavy tale of teen angst, faded friendships, and unresolved trauma. Bloom and Rage follows 4 high school friends reunited 27 years after a mysterious event they swore never to talk about. Expect branching dialogue, moody lighting, and a lot of long, meaningful silences. It is aimed squarely at the emotionally wounded 17-year-old within, though chances are, if you are watching this, you are likely now twice the age and are just here for the nostalgia-fueled melancholy. It's aiming for emotional resonance over gameplay depth, but if you're partial to the episodic storytelling formula with supernatural overtones, this will likely strike a right chord with you. Nocturnal is releasing on the 8th of August for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. This short but stylish action platformer blends tight swordplay with a fiery gimmick, literally. You are a warrior returning to your island home now shrouded in shadow, and your torch isn't just for ambience, it lights paths, reveals secrets and burns through enemies. It's got a distinctly indie scale, it's currently about £2 on Steam, and its runtime is only clocking in at a few hours, but it is a polished title with clear Prince of Persia DNA. Probably won't change your life, but it might nicely fill an afternoon, assuming your backlog ever allows such things. And my executive producer, Cookie Kid, has chosen this as his pick of the month. And if you want it or any of the retail releases in this video, you want to pre-order them for this month, then please do so via the links in the description and pinned comment. That helps support me, this channel, and especially this series ever so much. VGP are a great company and they have free worldwide shipping on orders over 75 Canadian dollars, which is like 53 American bucks, okay? Go check them out, they're really good, and yes, thank you for your support. Mafia, The Old Country is releasing on the 8th of August for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in both North America and Europe. A prequel to the original Mafia, this entry trades 1930s America for the Old Country, Sicily, in case the title didn't give it away, offering a fresh look at the criminal empire before it crossed the Atlantic, with the usual vendettas, vineyards, and violence, all lovingly rendered in Unreal Engine 5. It's aiming for gravitas, but there's always a chance it slips into melodrama. Think Godfather Part 2, if you spent less time in Cuba and more time chasing goats through cobbled villages. Still, if you ever wanted to whack someone in a linen suit while a mandolin plays ominously in the distance, this could be your summer holiday sorted. And my executive producers, Radio to Rancid and Azrath, have chosen this as their pick of the month. Ready or Not is releasing on the 8th of August for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in both North America and Europe. A tactical shooter that prides itself on realism and police procedure, so expect to move slowly, check corners, and maybe argue with your teammates more than shooting anything. The console release has been a long time coming, and while not perfect, it scratches that Swatch team itch for fans who prefer strategy over spray and pray. There has been some controversy over censorship implemented for the console release, and the changes have sparked a wave of backlash from the PC community, leading to review bombing on Steam. Despite the controversy, the game has seen a surge in sales with over 1 million units sold digitally on consoles within just 3 days, so 10 times faster than its initial PC sales. Drunken Fist 2 Zombie Hangover is releasing on the 13th of August for PlayStation 5 in North America. Low poly gag game, it's physics-based slapstick in the vein of totally accurate battle simulator, but with more vomit, bad tattoos, and an overwhelming whiff of regret. Low budget, proudly stupid, and just coherent enough to count as a game, my executive producer Nerdy Sean has chosen this as his pick of the month. Elypse is releasing on the 14th of August for PlayStation 5 and Switch in North America, a brooding precision platformer that traps you in the depths of the hellish abyss where every jump counts and everything wants you dead. Lovely. Not the greatest reception on this one, but it does have its fans. It's got a moody, painterly art style, but a bit of Ori and a bit of Hollow Knight in its DNA, though it is far more linear than those. A solid pick if you like your platforming punishing and your storytelling existential. Madden NFL 26 is releasing on the 14th of August for Xbox, PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch 2 as a game key clownery in both North America and Europe. EA's latest iteration aims to turn its annual grind into a proper upgrade, or at least something closer to American football. This year's tagline: the biggest franchise mode update in over a decade. The new wear and tear system tracks injuries and fatigue over the season, forcing you to actually rest your star players instead of turbo running them into the ground. You'll need to juggle your roster or risk setbacks before the playoffs. I have zero idea about American football, but the buzz on this release seems somewhat positive. Hard to get any concrete info, but potentially the game is largely delivered via download on all platforms, so don't expect everything to be on the disc, and that is a risk with every game really, because it's very difficult for us to tell because we make this video so far in advance. So take any physical release with a little bit of a pinch of salt until it actually releases. In fact, we should put a warning on like every video about that. Toaplan Arcade Collection Volume 1 and 2 is releasing on the 14th of August for PS5 and Switch in Europe and Japan. Separate releases. Bitwave's polished ports of Toaplan's legendary shmups release at retail this month following their limited run games pre-order in North America. Each volume contains 8 titles, complete with optional quality of life tweaks like rewind, save states, and online leaderboards, though purists can toggle it all off and pretend it's 1991 again. I wish we could do that in real life. In short, iconic soundtracks, punishing difficulty, and amazing screen-filling deaths from one of the progenitors of the genre. I think I said progenitors wrong. And my executive producers, Ishin and Punky have chosen this as their pick of the month. Slay the Princess, the Pristine cut, is releasing on the 15th of August for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. A long-delayed release, a psychological horror visual novel with a title that sounds like a joke and a premise that very much is not. You've been sent to slay a princess because she will end the world. But things get complicated at last, like multiverse levels of complicated. This expanded edition adds new chapters, voice lines, and narrative twists to the already acclaimed original, complete with hand-drawn art and a narrator who clearly has something to hide. Praised by many and a bit different to the usual VN release, my executive producers Sora Cat, Wixit, and Old Man Murphy have chosen this as their pick of the month. Discounty is releasing on the 21st of August for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. An RPG about working retail set in a small harbour town supermarket. You play as a new hire, navigating quirky co-workers, customer service nightmares, and the creeping sense that something isn't quite right behind the shelves. It's part social sim, part satirical take with turn-based combat and a loyalty card system, of course. Quirky, clever, and possibly triggering for anyone who's ever had to do a 9-hour shift at Woolworths for minimum wage, yeah, could be one for those who don't have that PTSD. Nikoderiko, The Magical World, is releasing on the 22nd of August for Xbox, PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. A brightly colored platformer, clearly aiming to recapture that 90s mascot magic, Nikoderiko offers a co-op play, collectible hoarding, and a nostalgia mix of jungle temples, lava levels, and friendly animal sidekicks. The digital release has been received very well. It looks slick and earnest, like a lot of PS1 era games, remastered in HD. It also features a soundtrack by David Wise, so expect jungle beats that slap. Charming and inoffensive, it might not revolutionize the genre, but it knows exactly which childhood buttons to press. Suicide Guy VR Deluxe is releasing on the 22nd of August for PS5, PSVR 2 in Europe. Despite the eyebrow-raising title, this is more absurdist puzzle platformer than anything too grim. You play as a burly everyman trying to wake himself up from a dream world by, well, creatively ending each scenario. This deluxe VR version adds motion controls and a new perspective to the already surreal antics such as throwing burgers at trains or launching yourself off cliffs to solve puzzles. Certainly not for everyone, and the humor's more, well, YouTube in 2014 than razor-sharp satire like you find here on this channel, but if you're after something weird and slightly wobbly for your PSVR 2, it is a choice. Awesome P3 is releasing on the 22nd of August for PS5 in Europe, the third entry in the retro-style platformer series that refuses to quit. Awesome P3 once again puts you in charge of a grumpy green blob with a taste for coins and a loathing of spikes. Game Boy Advanced chic visuals, a twitchy level design which will either charm or exhaust depending on your appetite for pixel-perfect platforming. Only 11 reviews for this on Steam, so a very niche title if you're after something rather unexplored. Undead Citadel is releasing on the 22nd of August for PS5, PSVR 2 in Europe. A VR melee brawler in a world overrun by zombies. Undead Citadel trades any remote subtlety for splatter. Swing, stab, and smash your way through hordes of zombies using physics-driven combat that leans heavily on the just flail and hope scenario. It's not the most elegant of experiences, but for PSVR 2 owners starved for first-person action, then I suppose it could be interesting. Space Adventure Cobra: The Awakening is releasing on the 26th of August for Xbox, PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. Cobra returns from deep space obscurity in the stylish cel-shaded, feel like Sean Connery in a cel-shaded adaptation of this Buichi Terasawa's cult manga. I've just butchered his name, man. A 2D platformer action game from the developers of the meme favorite Garfield Kart. Early previews suggest it's more faithful to the source material than reinvention, but for fans of space pirates, big hair, and 80s pulp swagger, that might be exactly the point, and my executive producer Jeddah Crow has chosen this as his pick of the month. Gears of War Reloaded is releasing on the 26th of August for PS5 in both North America and Europe. Yes, that is right, Gears of War on PlayStation. But even more bizarre, a PlayStation physical exclusive there's no Xbox physical for this Xbox game. Is it all on the disc? I mean, I don't really know, and maybe we won't know until release, but it is a remastered version of the original Xbox classic. Reloaded gives Marcus Phoenix and crew a new coat of ultra-violent polish with updated visuals, modernized controls, and presumably just as many gravelly one-liners and chainsaw executions as ever. Isn't this like the second remake? Like, come on. And my executive producer, Vast Neon, has chosen this as his pick of the month. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is releasing on the 28th of August for Xbox and PS5 worldwide. The full remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is here, and it's a near-obsessive recreation. Developed by Konami with Virtuous, this is Snake Eater in Unreal Engine 5, complete with modern and legacy control modes, real-time wounds, faster camo switching, and the return of jungle survival mechanics. Exclusive multiplayer mode Fox Hunt debuts at launch, while PS5 and PC versions revive the beloved Snake vs. Monkey crossover game. Xbox players get a Bomberman twist instead. I don't know what's going on here. Yes, voice actors are back. The theme song has been re-recorded by Cynthia Herald, the same singer as before, and the opening sequence retains interactive elements, a classy nod to nostalgia fans. Could this be the most faithful remake ever made? One of the greatest games ever made? I hope the hype lives up to expectations, and this is truly the ultimate version of Metal Gear Solid 3, even though it won't have Hideo Kojima's signature upon it. But my executive producers, Louis K, Instacritic, and my man Tim, have chosen this as their pick of the month. 40 sports games in one, releasing on the 28th of August for PS5 and Switch in Europe, with a North American release coming next month. Cramming 40 sports into one game sounds impressive until you realize it's the gaming equivalent of a school sports day. Rushed, chaotic, and strangely obsessed with beanbags. Expect button-mashy versions of tennis, archery, and several entries that feel suspiciously like the same minigame in different hats. Hilariously, this is the sequel to 30 sports games in one. Need I say more? Still, for an afternoon of laughs, maybe you could do worse. Date Everything is releasing on the 28th of August for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. A surreal dating sim where literally everything is fair game, from sentient chessboards to ancient deities and yes, even the moon. It leans fully into absurdity while still managing to skewer the tropes it clearly loves. The art's charmingly unhinged, the choices are bizarre, and the whole thing feels like a fever dream written by someone who's played too many Otome games and not slept in a week. Absolute rave reviews on its digital release with a substantial cult following. In short, finally, a dating sim for people who find regular romance far too straightforward, or if you've ever looked at a vending machine and thought, yeah, you know what, maybe, well, could be for you. And my executive producers, Switch Effect, Fawn Metal Luna, and Kaba Clavicol have chosen this as their pick of the month. Lost Soul, a Cide, is releasing on the 29th of August for PS5 in both North America and Europe. Once a one-man demo that set the internet alight nearly a decade ago, Lost Soul Aside is finally a real game with a real release date and a real everything, maybe. Slick action combat, flashy visuals, and a moody protagonist with a snarky transforming dragon sword thing put it somewhere between Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy 15, and a Waking Dream. I'm glad that said Waking, I thought there was an extra N in there somewhere. I think we've all had one of them before. Whether it lives up to the hype is anyone's guess, but after this long, curiosity alone might be worth the price of admission, and my executive producer Adamantium has chosen this as his pick of the month. Shinobi Art of Vengeance is releasing on the 29th of August for PS5 and Switch in Europe and Japan. A North American release was previously handled via Limited Run Games. After a 14-year hiatus since Shinobi 3D, Joe Musashi returns to reclaim his village from a mysterious corporation and avenge his petrified clan. Gameplay blends hand-drawn visuals with tight combos, wall jumps, kunai throws, powerful ninjutsu spells, and cinematic execution kills. Exploration is encouraged, branching past secret areas, collectible amulets, and hidden shortcuts reward the inquisitive. Lizard Cube pitched the revival to Sega after their work on Streets of Rage 4, aiming for high polish and modern sensibility. Sega wasn't just licensing, they co-developed this one, hoping to revive Shinobi as a flagship IP once again. Some previews flagged frame rate drops during enemy-heavy skirmishes, but gameplay has been widely praised as crisp and faithful enough to satisfy both nostalgia seekers and newbies alike. There is some controversy surrounding the code in a box situation on Nintendo Switch in Europe, which is a real disappointment, but overall, a rare case where a decades-old series feels both respectful of its roots and fresh enough to stand with modern action platformers. And my executive producers Michael Del Polito, the Nemo 6, and Dane Wilkinson have chosen this as their pick of the month. 100 Days Winemaking Simulator is releasing on the 29th of August for PS5 and Switch in Europe, a management sim about running your own vineyard. From soil prep and grape variety selection to fermentation and labeling, it is all here, rendered in clean visuals and quietly meditative vibes. Originally released in 2021 to not great fanfare, this one rewards patience, planning, and a working knowledge of tannins. I didn't even know how to say that. Ideal for anyone who alphabetizes their Criterion DVDs and reads Guardian lifestyle sections. Anglerfish is releasing on the 29th of August for PS5 in North America, a surreal lo-fi horror game where every death is permanent. and perversely, the only way to save. It's short, strange, and perhaps a little try-hard. Middling reviews with some criticizing that it feels like a streamer game, but praises for being unique in its idea, so potentially one to check out if you're after something a bit different. Copycat is releasing on the 29th of August for PS5 in Europe, a narrative adventure about a stray cat who's replaced by a suspiciously perfect feline doppelganger. A slow-paced, emotionally charged indie tale that explores identity, belonging, and meowing at windows for no reason. More heartfelt than it sounds, but don't be surprised if you spend half the time wondering if your real cat would have handled things better. Goosebumps, Terror in Little Creek is releasing on the 29th of August for Xbox, PS5, and Switch in both North America and Europe. The latest attempt to revive R.L. Stine's kid-friendly horror empire, this time as a third-person survival horror light. You will explore an eerie town, outwit classic Goosebumps monsters, and collect pages to banish evil. A bit like if Alan Wake had been published by Scholastic. Aimed squarely at nostalgic millennials and brave tweens alike, though the real terror may lie in the fact that it's been published by Game Mill. And my executive producer, Josh Foote, has chosen this as his pick of the month. So what? Hello Kitty Island Adventure is releasing on the 29th of August for PS5 in Europe. It previously released on the Switch, and I think it's releasing on Switch again. So something like that. I don't know, I haven't looked into it. Sanrio's answer to Animal Crossing continues its slow console tour, bringing its pastel world of friendship, fruit gathering, and tweet errands to PS5. Build your own island resort, bond with aggressively adorable mascots, and try not to question the economy of gifting cupcakes for labor. That's what I do. I feed Tim with cupcakes for these videos. Already out on Switch, this one's for the cozy core crowd and pom-pom purin lovers. And my executive producers Cartoon Soren, Jennifer M, and Ghost Bune have chosen this their pick of the month. KIBORG is releasing on the 29th of August for PS5 in Europe. A gritty, hyper-stylized brawler from Sobaka Studio, KIBORG drops you into a cyberpunk prison colony where fists, bullets, and heavy synths do most of the talking. Prepare for short, brutal runs, a rotating cast of enhanced inmates, and a camera that doesn't flinch. Fast-paced and unforgiving, an action roguelike that will certainly find its audience. Afterdream is releasing on the 29th of August for PS5 and Switch in North America. Europe's is coming next month. This eerie side-scrolling horror mixes surreal storytelling with ghostly puzzles wrapped in a moody pixel art style. It's atmospheric, unsettling, and more about creeping unease than jump scares. Afterdream blends ghost photography puzzles with an atmospheric lo-fi pixel aesthetic. Well received as a niche title, which seems to be a theme of this video, but my executive producers Brent McLean, Alexander Cato, and Danielle O have chosen this as their pick of the month. Tales from Candle Forth is releasing on the 29th of August for PS5 and Switch in North America, Europe next month. A folk horror point-and-click puzzle game where fairy tales bleed into nightmares. You play as Sarah, a young woman uncovering her family's occult secrets in a village where reality is twisted and stories collide. The game's hand-drawn 2D art and eerie atmosphere set the stage for unsettling puzzles and escape room-style challenges. While it offers a unique puzzle style and intriguing narrative, some players have noted the puzzles can be somewhat obtuse and the story's depth may leave room for further exploration. Ideal for fans of atmospheric horror and puzzle solving. Alright, here are a bunch of releases that were supposed to release elsewhere, but have not released as of yet, but should be releasing this month. Have a look at them. Here they are, oh yes. Keep reading. Alright, let's jump into the limited, low print releases, the pre-orders. Limited run games. Metro Questa is up for pre-order now, although the pre-orders are ending on the 3rd of August for PS5. A sci-fi dungeon crawler with heavy retro inspiration, Metro Questa sends a squad of customizable androids into grimy grid-based corridors to do turn-based battles with rogue AI and biomechanical oddities. A budget Etrian odyssey by way of old-school Shin Megami Tensei. An unapologetically dense game with menus within menus, permadeath, and just enough story and lore to justify the suffering. A love letter to crueler corners of the genre, it looks genuinely interesting. Metro Questa OSAKA pre-orders also end on the 3rd of August for PS5. This is the updated edition of Metro Quester with a new scenario set in a decaying Osaka. Expect the same brutal, first-person dungeon crawling, permadeath, punishing RNG, and deliberately opaque mechanics, but now with fresh enemies, gear, and that unmistakable late-stage cyberpunk rot. Fate Seeker 2 pre-orders end on the 10th of August for PS5, a martial arts action RPG set in a mythologized version of ancient China. Fate Seeker 2 blends wuxia flair with branching storylines, stylish combos, and a morally flexible protagonist. It's the kind of game where philosophy, deception, and a flying kick to the groin can solve all problems in life. Previously digital only in the West, there is a full English Asian version available though if you fancy picking up at Play Asia. Vanity Fair The Pursuit pre-orders end on the 17th of August for PS5, a live-action interactive narrative from Chinese studio Muyan. Vanity Fair The Pursuit casts you as Liu Yuan, an ambitious film director navigating fame, betrayal, and power games. Set between 2004 and 2024, this FMV-style drama spans over 6 chapters and more than a dozen endings depending on your choices. Steam reviews are overwhelmingly positive, around 87 to 88%, with praise for its emotional storytelling, branching narrative structure, and standout performances. For fans of FMV drama or those intrigued by life choices set against the glitz of Chinese cinema. Mamorukun ReCurse pre-orders end on the 17th of August for PS5 and Switch, a remastered version of G-Rev's cult 2008 arcade shooter with the usual mix of vertical bullet hell chaos with candy-colored shots. Mamorukun ReCurse sees a group of oddly cheerful dead people fighting their way through the Neverworld with the help of the series' signature curse mechanic. Originally an arcade title before getting a Japanese-only release on PS5 and Xbox 360, this remaster finally gives Western audiences a proper shot, with all the previously exclusive DLC thrown in with good measure. A nice surprise for fans of G-Rev's deep cut catalogue, but do be aware that the retail release is coming in Europe and Japan next month, but I highly recommend it as a pickup for whichever version you want. Freddi Fish Collection pre-orders end on the 17th of August for PS5 and Switch. I can only assume this re-release is due to the Twitch meme sensation of last year. Someone needs to fill me in on that. The edutainment icons of the CD-ROM era resurface in this 5-game collection where undersea sleuth Freddi and her perpetually startled sidekick Luther solve gentle mysteries involving stolen kelp seeds and phantom schoolhouses. These point-and-click adventures are short, wholesome, and proudly stuck in the 90s, complete with hand-drawn animation and the kind of voice acting that feels like it's soothing your inner child, for parents, nostalgia heads, or limited-run collectors. Berserk Boy pre-orders end on the 24th of August for PS5 and Switch, a lightning-fast action platformer that wears its Mega Man and Gunvolt influences proudly, right down to the elemental powers, dashing combat, and synth-heavy soundtrack by Sonic Mania's T. Lopez. Already released in Europe a couple of months ago, but a good option if you are in North America. BIOMORPH pre-orders end on the 24th of August for PS5 and Switch, a Metroidvania with a clever hook. You don't just defeat enemies, you become them. Flaws and all, copying their powers opens up new paths and mechanics, though not always in ways you'll enjoy. It's as much about learning your borrowed weaknesses as it is exploiting their strengths. Alright, let's jump into the imports. If you want to import any of these games, you can do so via Play Asia, and if you click my Play Asia link, you can get 5% off with my code Jordan2025. Gradius Origin Collection is releasing on the 7th of August for PS5 and Switch in Japan and Asia. A hefty retro collection including Gradius 1-3, Life Force, Salamander, Salamander 2, and the newly developed Salamander 3. Previously up for pre-order via limited run, this physical edition now lands overseas with multiple regional variants, quality of life tweaks, and a smattering of extras. Not quite definitive, but close enough to count. I genuinely want a re-release of Gradius 5, and I hope this collection sells well enough for them to consider a Volume 2. And my executive producer, Dave Horworth, has chosen this as his pick of the month. Basuriero's Invasion is releasing on the 7th of August for PS5 and Switch in Japan, a lo-fi side-scrolling beat-em-up where a gang of talking rubbish, like quite literally, takes on a full-blown alien invasion. Prepare for chunky pixel art, chaotic brawling, and a heavy dose of Saturday morning cartoon energy. This game is knowingly scrappy, slightly surreal, and embraces its absurdity. It's a perfect game for anyone who thought Streets of Rage needed more sentient packets of crisps. Super Robot Wars Y is releasing on the 28th of August for PS5 and Switch in Japan and Asia. And yes, it does have English, like all the games that I'm talking about in this video. A brand new entry in the crossover tactics series that treats giant robots with the same reverence some reserve for scripture. Super Robot Wars Y promises the usual barrage of laser swords, missile spams, and existential monologues. A sprawling roster of classic mecha from across anime history, all rendered in the series' signature detailed chibi art and explosive battle sequences. If you played a Super Robot Wars games before, you know the drill. Do yourself a favor, pick one up. They are fantastic fun for what they are. And my executive producers, G Bautista 100, God of Resin, Feig, they, and me, it is our pick of the month. Varlet is releasing on the 28th of August for PlayStation 5 and Switch in Japan and Asian regions. Now this is a bit weird because Play Asia do have an Asian English physical release. They have it up there as a placeholder. Does it actually have English? We don't know. We're gonna have to wait for more details on this, but we're gonna mention it here just in case. A high school RPG with echoes of Persona set in Kosei Academy, students grapple with emotional trauma, manifesting as monsters in a VR network gone rogue. You'll battle through mirror realms using timeline-based combat system while juggling light and dark personality traits that influence everything from dialogue to combat skills. This is stylish, moody, and occasionally overwrought. With credits from Shin Megami Tensei Illumini, I am intrigued, but whether it will follow through with something original or just be a watered-down tribute act is yet to be seen. But my executive producer, D's Nuts, has chosen this as his pick of the month. But remember, we're not entirely sure if it has English or not. Here are a bunch of Japanese releases that already have a release in the West. And here are a bunch of Japanese releases coming that don't have English. I think Kemco, I think that one has English. Pretty sure it does. I think all the PS5 ones do. But anyways, thank you for Tim for making this video, and thank you to you for watching all the way through. If you watched all the way through, please leave me a drunken zombie emoji in honor of the drunken nonsense that will be Drunken Fist 2 Zombie Hangover. Here are all my executive producers. I am feeling lightheaded after talking for like 30 minutes now, so yeah, here they all are, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care.